I cannot tell it all. If I had 10,000 tongues, it still wouldn't be enough. Chukuna won't be really. When you heal completely. Chukuma robi mo. Isi kendule we say. Hey, yeah. What shall I render to Jehovah? For he has done so very much for me. What shall I render to Jehovah? For he has done so very much for me. Nare, 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 kele, nare, kele, mo.
எனக்கெல்லாம் செய்தீரே, நான் என்ன செலுத்துவேன்? நன்றிகள் ஏற்றுக்கொள்ளும். 1000 நாவுகள் போதாதையா, நன்றிகள் ஏற்றுக்கொள்ளும்.
Tuhan yang menyembuhkan, Kau sembuh sepenuhnya. Ku terima kasih. Tuhan tahu hatiku, Tuhan ku ajaib. Oh, ku terima kasih.
Que pourrais-je t'offrir, oh Jéhovah? Toi qui as fait tant de merveilles pour moi.
以什么报答主耶和华？他所赐的一切厚恩。
Te agradeço, ó meu Senhor, te agradeço. Te agradezco, oh mi Señor, te agradezco.
Te
Jehovah, for he has done so very much for me. What shall I render to Jehovah? For he has done so very much for me.
Wow, wow, wow. Amazing. What shall we render unto our God? It's just a wonderful way to just, invite God into our discussion today. You are welcome to Sunday Night Live. And as usual, I am your host, Oribi Edmond Tamnabo. And it is so lovely to have you guys today. As you know, if you've been following, we have been studying the book, Thou Shalt Prosper. And happy new month, right? We are entering into the month of April. So how do you want to prosper? Is the question for you. So I will admonish you. You can go back to our previous discussions so you're caught up. Thou Shalt Prosper is divided into chapters which come off as commandments. 10 chapters, 10 commandments on how to prosper. Taking principles from the Bible, okay? And these are basically principles that have come off from the Jewish culture. The author of the book is Rabbi David Lapin, and he's thrown in amazing insights in this book that I would admonish to keep this. I have someone that says that this is your Bible on how to make money, okay? One interesting thing about this book is enlightening me to the fact that I shouldn't be afraid, and you shouldn't also be afraid to talk about money, want and desire money. Because all the good things you want to do in life, guess what? You need money to make sure that that happens, okay? So, we'll be rounding up this book, in this episode. And it's funny, we've gone through so many commandments, but there are 4 commandments that we're yet to speak on. But before we even go there, can we welcome Mr. Enyoma? Mr. Enyoma, please, can you greet the people, please? Just let them know that you're here, that you're enjoying this, tell them something.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me again, Ruby. I'm delighted, always delighted to be here. Last week, we had a discussion around the 2 commandments, and it was a lot to take in. Where we had a lot to learn from the panel. There were so many things that were discussed, and there was so much that we learned. I thank God again for another day to learn more. There's so much content within the book, like you said. It's a Bible on its own. There's so many nuggets that we can pick up. It's really loaded. The content is huge. We can't really do justice to it by just talking about it. We all need to read it by ourselves. I mean, for me, this is definitely one I will be referring to, years to come. And I'm delighted that we are reading it. And yeah, thanks for having me again. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Neoma. So, I mean, we were expecting another guest. So if the guest, joins us in halfway, we will introduce him, and obviously we will pick his brain on the book as well. This is someone who is also taught and delved into the book. So if he does come in, I'll let you guys know, and we'll greet him, in our normal, customary Sunday Night Live way. So without further ado, we're going to go straight in. As you know, we're summarizing the chapter so that you can have a sneak peek, okay, on what the book is about, chapter by chapter. Right. Now, there is this particular chapter that we're going to talk on, gets me thinking, how in the Bible, so Mr. Nima, I would refer that question to you. You know how in the Bible we talk about prophecies, you have the prophets foretelling the future. You see this thing and it seems as though this is something that is only associated with talking about the future prophets, so more like spiritual things. Some would say religious things. But in this book, I am seeing that this author is applying that understanding even in the realm of business. And it made me think, okay, you look at business, you look at even fashion, okay? And I know this because I'm into, fashion here and there. People actually sit down to project what the future trends would be so that they can jump into that ahead of the curve before even people catch on. People have determined what the next trend would be. Football, technology, etc. And also in the realm of business. So this chapter says, learn to foretell the future. And I'm curious, what does that look like in business? And what does the book say about that?
Yeah, so thank you. So learn to foretell the future. So there's so much that Rabbi, identified, highlighted in this chapter. And like you said, it affects every area of our lives. If we are not able to have an idea or determine or foretell what could happen in the future, that could spell doom for our businesses or even for our real lives. I will give you a typical example. Say for instance, IT. For instance, if I'm in the IT profession, we see how quickly things change. And we see how quickly, ideas, everything, technology is changing. So if I am in that space, I'm a businessman within the IT sector, and I'm not able to foretell what is going to happen, the new technology, the new, photography, everything, it's likely going to affect, my business. I mean, we saw a typical example is I read a story about Nokia. We used, a lot of us used to have Nokia.
I use Nokia.
Yeah, Nokia used to be the trailblazer in mobile technology. And I heard a story. I'm not sure whether that's, when they were telling them that, look, the phone will soon be where everybody can do anything. The one-stop shop to do, not just to make a call, to watch a movie, to communicate here. So a lot of people within Nokia did not, thought that it wasn't going to happen, and they did not foretell that future. And today we see what is happening. Apple has revolutionized everything about mobile technology. Another typical example is something that is happening. Any business, I take for instance, you probably must have heard about self-driving cars. Yeah, that is another change that is happening. So people that are in that, maybe you own taxis, you're a taxi driver, what you're thinking is, okay, what is going to happen in the future? Am I going to stay in business, or will things change, or what will happen? So from what we are seeing, next 10, 15 years, perhaps we could start seeing cars that drive themselves. Okay, so that is, something that will likely going to happen. So if I'm in any business, what this chapter is telling us in summary is, in every business that I'm in, I need to be asking myself, what is changing? Yeah. How will the future look for my business? Okay. The strategies that I'm deploying right now, will they still be effective in the next 5, 6 years? Okay. So this is what Rabbi is telling us, that any business that I'm in, I need to be asking myself those questions. And if those questions are in the affirmative, that things are changing, then there's something that you described that, look, for anything to change, there's always a force that causes that to change. Just like those that are in science, learn about Newton's law of motion. For something that is in motion, it will continue to be in motion until a force stops it from moving. Or something that is at rest will continue to be at rest until something. So what he's telling us is that understand the patterns, understand what could change, understand what could cause the changes. Sometimes the force will be a demand. a force might be like we saw the whole world has just been turned upside down by COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, perhaps we didn't see that coming, but it's some kind of a force that can change everything. Yeah, so we need to be prepared. So determine the forces that could change within my own sector, my own industry, and begin to, adapt, begin to plan ahead. Okay, so if we are not able to foretell a future within my own space, then it's a problem. Yeah, we might not be able to prosper. Our business might go out of business in the near future, or we might not be able to compete, with those that are already foretelling and planning for what they are seeing. Okay, so
that's an interesting point. But I think what comes to my mind is, okay, how does one begin? Is there a space of mindset should you be reading news every day?
Well, yes.
Yeah, most
definitely.
likely. Yeah.
Yes. You need information. So what is telling us that in my own space, in my own career, let's even use a career, in my own career, in my own business, I need to be abreast of what is going on in terms of technology changes, in terms of the demand in the market. If the demand is another force that could change, if the demand starts to drop, there could be a reason why it's dropping. So it could foretell something to you. There could be environmental issues. We are seeing how the whole world is going towards being environmentally conscious. That is a force on itself. So that, depending on the area, if you're in the oil and gas, that is a sign that things are changing. Are you prepared for it? Fossil fuels might not be the biggest player. Perhaps some people are still arguing that it will take a long time. But from what we are seeing, from the patterns we are seeing, there is a change somewhere. We don't know how long it's going to take. So these are the telltale signs. So yes, we need to be abreast of information. We need to be reading. We need to be looking at patterns. We need to be looking at trends, what is going out there. So what that means is, in any business I'm in, I'm not just in the business just to sit back and make money. I need to have information of what is going on in the market. What are people saying? What are the competitors saying? So we need to be attending things like industry meetings. Yeah, these are where you get trends. Industry magazines, where you see people talking about what is happening. Symposium organized by the academia, very, very important, because they do a lot of research. They see a lot of things going on in the market. We need to be able to attend these functions, get this information, not just pack it somewhere, but analyze it by ourselves and be able to make an informed decision based on this information that we get. So yes, information, attending programs, events that has to do with my space, because we all have areas that we play in, whether it's our career is another area. If you see changes, you could foretell a future. If you could foretell a career that is coming to an end, and hopefully you should be able to say, okay, this career is not going to lead me to anywhere, but it's time for me to change to a complementary career or something else that I can, be able to make money from. So yeah, very important that we need to be able to predict, foretell the future, and when we do that, it keeps us in business. And when we're in business, we prosper, and which is what the book is all about.
Yeah, true words. And as you were speaking, I think the scripture came to mind. My people suffer for a lack of knowledge. And I think this scripture, I find that I apply to almost it applies to so many things, because where there's a lack of knowledge, where there's a lack in wisdom, understanding, instruction, one can begin to derail, and being observant in your sphere, wherever you find yourself working and you're earning money. And I think another thing that came to mind is, I think it's about immersing yourself in your industry or sector or what you're doing, and knowing about it in and out.
Yes.
And correct. Also making sure that you are, humble enough to keep on finding out more information, not being satisfied. And I think that's what kind of makes companies fall through it, doesn't it? It's that complacency,
Yes.
feeling like you've known and you have reached. And I think that's why there's so many self-help books, so many books, Christian books, different kind of books. People who are successful, there's a trend. They are never satisfied. They're always looking to consume the next big information that is within their sphere, influence, sector, career, etc. So
I mean, you talked about fashion. Fashion is another fascinating area. So if you're people, some fashion designers there, it's probably you need to, for you to be in business as a fashion designer, you need to be able to monitor the trends, be able to foretell, and sometimes be able to get people to think that this is the future. Yeah, you're projecting your own future, that this is what needs to happen. So it's really critical in so many sectors. If you're not trending, if you're not foretelling the future within fashion, you probably go out of business.
Or you will go out of business. It's heavily competitive, and everybody's projecting the next phase.
Exactly.
Every runway, runway.
So it's just a typical example. So it's really, really critical that in every sector that we are in our careers, we need to keep asking ourselves, what is the future for this career? What is going to happen in the next 5 years? What is changing? A lot of people, a lot of people used to, before the computer came, the banking was all done manually. Yeah. So a lot of jobs now, you must be computer literate to be able to do them. So that's a typical change. What could change in a typical career? There's so many jobs now that are being replaced by robots. So you need to be asking yourself, is my job being replaced by robot? Like I talked about self-driving cars, that's more of a robot. So I advise a lot of youth going into anything that whatever you're doing, technology has to be key, because every career now is being driven by technology. So it's disrupting everything. It's disrupting every career, every business. So it's a typical example of, if you're able to foretell what is going to happen in my own career, even in for doctors as well, a lot of surgeries are being, I've seen documentaries of surgery being done remotely using technology, while a doctor sits in somewhere and be monitoring using camera and all that. So there's so much changes within every career. So if we are not changing and if we are not planning ahead, once we see those changes and we're not planning and we're not preparing for it, we're likely going to be out of business. We're likely not going to be employable. So it's really important that we prepare ourselves, be able to see what is going to happen. And the whole idea to foretell is for us to start preparing ourselves. If it's to get new skills, go ahead and get it. And like you said, that means we need to be abreast of information, whatever is happening within our own space, within our career, where we are. We need to be able to, to get that information. For professional careers like, nurses, doctors, engineers, they always attend CPDs organized by the organizer. They require them to attend this continuous professional development. It's just for you to be able to pick up new things, new developments, what is going on. So if you're a professional and you're not attending any of this, you are shooting yourself. You need to attend. Very, very important. That's why you get all this information, apart from reading books, magazines, and every information that you can get. So very, very important that we get as much information as we can get.
Thank you so much for saying that. And that even brings me to a previous commandment chapter that talks about extending the network of your connection. These are ways to also be abreast of trends, the times, the seasons, the patterns, by observing, by being among people who've probably gone ahead and done some things. By the time you see 1, 2, 3 doing the same thing, you notice a pattern. It goes all hand in hand. So anyway, the next commandment is about know your money. right? And I think this is something for a lot of young people. I don't notice this a lot more in people who are older, maybe because of the number of responsibilities they have, that they have to be abreast of the amount of money they're spending because they have kids, they have people to feed, dependents. But amongst the young people, I think this is something that I notice. Not many of us really know our money. And when you say know your money, what does that mean? You know, so I'll just leave that to you to unpack, because I think this is something, including myself, I need to know my money. You know, it's so easy to be here and you spend and you cannot even, you know, sometimes you cannot even account for what have I spent? Why is it that I'm out, you know, at a certain time, you know, etc. So yes, know your money, that commandment. Can you unpack that for us?
Right. So, Robert, there's quite a lot of information from that commandment. Okay, but I will just come down from the angle that you came from. So, know your money. Very, very important. It talked about, first of all, are you able to read a financial statement? Financial statement is simple. Yeah. Financial statement there's company financial statement, and we brought it down to, in our parish, as individual financial statement. Yeah. Am I able to know how much that comes in to my pocket every month, every week? Yeah. That's my income. From there, do I know how much I spend every week from there, which I get? So he said that it's really, really important as a young person, as an adult, family man, family woman, if we are not able to know, if you don't know how much I'm spending, in a month, it's a problem. That means I don't even understand my own personal financials. So it's important that every month I know how much that comes in. Out of that comes in, can I budget my monthly expenses and make sure that, again, I am not overspending? Okay. I've seen some people use different tools, spreadsheets, to determine this is how much I spend per month on different items, from bills to mortgage, rent, whatever you can spend. So the whole idea of this is to make sure that you are not overspending. So I'm living within my means, my income. I'm not spending or borrowing to look after for my domestic spending. Very, very important. So it brought it down to, and that's what companies do. Every company wants to spend within its limit. Yeah. I don't want to spend beyond what I am making as a company. And that's where companies have problems with cash flow, because I'm spending so much, and I'm not getting enough to manage my expenses. So it's a problem for companies. So it's also a problem for families. Okay, if you are not able to spend within what you're making as a family, it's a problem. So it talks about things about even, do we understand what interest rate is? Do we know, if you have a mortgage, do we know what an APR is? Yeah. If you have a credit card, do you know how much interest they are charging you? So we need to understand all this, because every interest, sometimes you go out to buy an item and they will tell you that, oh, okay, we'll give you interest free for 3 months. After 3 months, you start paying an interest of 8.5% or whatever. That extra interest they are charging you is a cost on you. That means they are taking a bit more money from you to pay back. Okay, so if you can avoid things like that, or go for things with lower interest rate, that will help. So trying to understand what all this thing means, it's really what that part of what that chapter is talking about. So if I can determine that, I'll be able to reduce how much I'm spending on interest. Some people, there's just as an example, once you understand those concepts of interest, APR and all that, so all you're going for is, there are credit cards out there that have zero interest for, say, 24 months. Some people, what they do is, once they get that approved, they will use that and use it to pay back a high interest credit card. Okay, so that will help you to reduce the amount of charges you're being paid. you're paying to a bank. So once you understand all this information, trying to understand, one of the things you talked about again is, this month, where we are part of what I've encouraged some people in my parish is that if there's nothing that you don't get from this chapter, try and learn how to read a financial statement, which is what I've just explained. Income and I've simplified it. How much do I earn? Yeah. How much do I spend? In a bigger scale for companies, it's pretty much the same thing. How much do they make? So if you're running a business, do I know how much that comes in? Do I know how much I spend on cost, expenses? Can I tabulate them and determine how much profit I'm making as a business or how much I'm not making as a business? Somebody was sharing with us that even while he was doing business before he came over to this country, back home, that he was always, he would dip money into his business money and spend, and used to eat, used to pay bills. So he could not determine how much profit he's making. He knows something that comes in, but he just couldn't sit down to work out, okay, these are my expenses, this is for salary, this is that. He could not. He was just, he needs to pay for a bill. He would take money from his business and pay a bill. So that is a poor way of managing our finances. And it's not, especially for a business. So very important, we need to be able to determine, this is how much that comes into this business. Yeah, if it's 50,000 every month that comes in, yeah, this is it. Yeah, it's business money. So if you want to spend money on any expense, personal, you have to pay yourself first. Yeah, pay yourself a salary and take it away from the business that this is a cost on it. This is for paying salaries. This is for paying bills. This is for paying that. Yeah. Then from there, from what you're earning as salary, you can use it to give your brothers or give anybody money you want to.
Yeah.
Then you'll be able to know, okay, this is what comes in. These are all my expense lines for salaries, light, bills, and all that. And this is what is remaining. This is the profit I've made from this business. Because if you don't run it that way, you will have cash flow problems. You won't understand what is coming in. You won't know how good your business is doing. And you will just struggle to make the business work for you. So in a nutshell, that's just in and but very important. We need to take this home and try and read it, understand how to read a financial, because at the end of the day, we want to make, this book is about making money. So if you don't know how to manage that money, which is simple enough, how to read your financial statement, you will struggle in every other thing. Definitely.
Wow. Yeah. That is so key. I remember on the side, I started making hair, and this is before I had started, this is something I wanted to take really seriously, which I still do. So it's undergoing restructuring, but yes, I make people's hair. I'm very interested in natural hair, etc. This is not a plug. I'm just having a conversation. But and so I spoke to a few people. I'm someone that before I do something, I don't know why, but I just like, it may seem like maybe I'm not confident. No, I'm actually just asking. I like to ask people, this is what I want to do, or what do you think? What are their thoughts? What are their advices? Because you would always pick.
Do you know what you're doing? Yeah. Remember we talked about last week, facts and faith. So you're packing your fact, which is good. Yes. You need to do that. Yes. You're trying to increase your comfort level, that look, I'm comfortable to do this. You want to get all the facts that you can get about that business. So you're on the right track. So
advice. So I talked to my brother. He was like, oh, that's when I first started, because he cuts hair. He started a business in where he is in Canada at the time as a student. And he was cutting people's hair, because it was something not many people were cutting black hair in where he was. And so he was like, oh, there's something I wish I started, just taking notes, bookkeeping, writing things. I was like, okay. And I got my book for it. And
very good.
From making hair, I was like, okay, let me try and get some silk scarves, silk bonnets. Maybe I can be selling it to people as well. And I started writing it down. And I think it's a good, at the end of the day, by the time I was able to sell as much as I could, I was very proud of myself, because by the time I recorded, I could begin to tell, I need this amount of profit.
Yeah.
And in fact, I even created a different pot. Like I have a savings pot. So everything about hair goes in there. If I want to spend anything related to hair that has nothing to do with me, it comes from there.
Yeah.
And so there's a way of tracking it. I'm a bit sloppy, to be honest, but I feel like just having that foundational principle of this is how it should be done sets a good foundation, so that, you know, as I'm building, I'm creating better habits on bookkeeping. You know, and I think that has helped me so far. Sometimes some people look at me and be like, honestly, I wish I was doing what you're doing. Just writing and noting things down. I can't say I'm the best businesswoman. We're all trying. But I think that these are principles that, you know, if you start it now, you build better habits, and you grow, and you can even find more efficient ways that works with your personality, you know, bookkeeping and things like that.
Yeah, it's on a personal level, it's really important if we want to be able to, because sometimes people will tell you, I don't know how I spend my money. I just get money and it's all gone.
It's terrible, actually.
It's just terrible. I mean, a lot of us are living from hand to mouth. It's not because we just can't account for how I spend my money. Yeah, even me as well. I sometimes I struggle. I give money to people without budgeting. I just can't. So I think the best way is from whatever comes into my pocket, I earn every month. Yeah, I should be able to budget. Like you said, there should be a savings pot. We all need a savings pot. Yeah. We all need to put money. Part of why we're doing this is to be able to grow what I call our passive income. That is an investment that take little or nothing of my time. I can put money away, and it might be real estate, it might be shares, whatever that I'm comfortable with. Yeah. So to do that, I need to get money from my active income and put it aside that I can invest in my passive income. Yeah. So we need to have a budget for everything, for my bills, rent or mortgage. I mean, we've heard that energy bills are going up, so adjust the bills, everything, so that you'll be able to, when I've exhausted a budget for maybe I have a budget for giving people money, maybe family members. Once you exhaust that budget, that's it. You're not giving anybody any money. Yeah. But if you don't have any budget like that, you'll be like, they toss you in a wave. Wherever the wave goes, you go until you run out of money. And it's a problem. So if we cannot discipline ourselves in our own little finance, it will be a problem when we start running our own businesses. It will be a problem when we start running big mega. We'll just eat down the business because we're not disciplined. So that's what this commandment is very fundamental to every other commandment, because it's about the money that we want to make. If you can't take care of it, if you can't be smart to go and get the cheap money, cheap money, that's money with low interest rate to do our well, first of all, we should not be borrowing anyway to fund our lifestyle. And, you shouldn't be borrowing to go on holiday.
I believe in living according to your means. Cut your coat according to your size. And as your coat starts getting bigger, then you can increase it. You can increase your bandwidth.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, if I can afford a holiday, if I can afford a simple holiday, I go for it. If I can't afford any holiday this year, I work harder next year. I save a bit to save it, not using a credit card that will charge me 8% to go on holiday and I struggle to pay it back. Yeah, so it's not. If you can borrow to invest, if you're sure that the investment will be able to pay back what you've borrowed plus the interest on top of it. That's the only thing I encourage people. That's why I've tried to do. In the past, I've borrowed to go on holiday. I've done, all those kind of things. But, when you start reading books like this, reading other books, you now start realizing that you need to be a bit more disciplined to be able to save, to maybe buy a house or maybe invest, or maybe because that money is going to come from your active income, that you want to invest. Because the whole idea, if one can grow his passive income, that is income that comes with little or no of your time, if it's more than what is coming from your active income, that means you can decide not to go to work, and money is still coming in, which is where we all need to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that means I have time to go on the missions field without worrying about who will pay my bills. I have time to do other things. So that is the whole idea. So we need to have a pot. I like we use the word a pot for savings, a pot we put away to grow our passive investment. Very, very important. But to do that, this is the key. We need to be disciplined with our finances. Very, very disciplined. Yeah. Don't spend what you don't have. Don't borrow to run your lifestyle or to pay your bills. No, that means I'm living beyond my means. If my income is not able to take care of my expenses, home expenses, then I need to readjust. I need to look back at my financial statement and ask myself what is going on.
Yeah, so true, so true. So I think we've deduced the problem is indiscipline, and I think it's proving a theory I have, and I feel like the greater people, the more responsibility people have, suddenly they know in their mind, oh, I have people depending on me and more responsibilities. Suddenly there's this discipline, like you know that you have to get your act together, so people become more disciplined, and then that discipline in life in general begins to show even in the way you handle money. Why? Because people are dependent on you to provide, to do things, So for young people, yes, at this time in your life, you may not have plenty responsibilities. Use this time to make hay while the sun is shining. My dad tells me this a lot, and if he's watching this, he'll probably laugh because he sings this like a song. And now I say this to people. Now that you're free, you don't have anybody dependent, then use this time to accumulate wealth. That's why it's so timely reading this book. It's so timely in this season where the world is just at the tip of, recovering from COVID. A lot of ideas. There's an explosion of new ways of doing things. Take opportunity and learn. Discipline yourself. I've learned discipline through exercise. And now because I know exercise, you have to be disciplined. Is God telling me, you can be disciplined in prayer. You know that you can also be disciplined with your money. You can be disciplined with the things you eat. It's a whole part. It's a journey. It's you. Wonderful, wonderful. So the next commandment, I think, is very funny because now you said our money is a reflection of who you are, right? The next chapter says, act rich. This is... It's a bit contradictory because, there's so many... You said cut your coat according to your size. And now, dear Rabbi is saying we should act rich. What does that mean? Should I begin to act more than my means because that is where I'm going? Or should I cut my coat according to my size?
Okay, so what does he mean by acting rich? A subtitle to that, it says give away 10% of your after-tax income, which is about charity, and why is that really, really important? Why does it show that you're acting rich? What it means to act rich is when you go out, what kind of image do you portray? Okay, what do people see when I go out? I know I need to cut my coat according to myself, but that doesn't mean I should become shabby. That doesn't mean as a salesman, I should, go knocking on doors, looking unkept, looking dirty, not smelling nice, because people are, if you come to my door, knock on my door, and you look smart, well kept, not coming with a fancy car, but something reasonable and neat, the likelihood of me listening to you will be higher than somebody comes to my door looking shabby, unkept, not wearing nice, not looking good. I'll probably think that the person wants to, it's a con man or wants to dupe me because he looks, I've weighed him and he doesn't really look somebody that, runs a business. So that is why it's important that in every situation you find yourself, no matter how poor one is, there's a way you present yourself. You look presentable. Okay, you will look, people generally, we all want to deal with people that look nice, that speak nice, that are polite. Okay, and these are things that's what he meant by acting rich, not necessarily coming to, throw money all around. Okay, and why the whole charity came in is, apart from, we all, as Christians, we all know the spiritual principles behind giving. Yeah, when we give, what we get. But in addition to that, where it aligns with acting rich, when people know that you're a giver, okay, when people around you know that you're a giver, according to Rabbi, from what he read there, people tend to, want to associate with you more. Yeah, because they know that you have a good heart. They want to be friendly with you. They know that, no matter how much money that you make, you give. Just in a group of friends, if you identify, say, a group of 8 to 10 friends, one person that's always supporting the rest, giving the rest, if the person needs help, you will find out that most of the other friends will come to the person's. Yeah. And it's natural. It's not rocket science. It happens. I mean, within my own circle of friends, there are friends among us that, if something happens to any of us, he's the one that will call. He's the one that will, okay, even if it's small, it doesn't matter. It mustn't be big money, but he's the one that will support that. Look, just hold this one and use it to buy 1 or 2 things. Yeah. So there are friends like that. How do we treat those friends? If anything, if they need any support anywhere, you can see the way friends will rally around them. And that's what that chapter is talking about. That's what it's meant by acting rich. You're not, like I say, you're not throwing money around, but be supportive to your friends. Do the little that you can. Be supportive to charity. He talked a lot about supporting charities. And he mentioned that, look, it's one thing that Jews do a lot. They support things like the Red Cross, the various charity organizations. They put in money because they understand that principle of giving very, very well. Yeah. So apart from the biblical principles, spiritual returns that we get as giver, physically it will build a lot more network because people want to associate with us more. People, it gives us a better image. People look at us and say, wow, this person that, does this, I want to do business with him. So it increases your interaction, it increases your network, and it helps us to grow our business. So that was the angle that Rabbi is talking about by us acting, rich.
This thing you said is very true, actually, because we all know that friend where if something happens, or we all know that person that if you have a problem, that's the first person that's the first person you call. If you have a question or counsel, I have one auntie, she knows herself. That's the person I will be calling, and it's foretelling actually of the character and the kind of person you are. So it's like your value emanates from just who you are.
Yeah.
So I feel like even this actually is also a thing of character as well. This is if this is the kind of person you want to be, then start from within. And I think a lot of these principles start from within. It's like the character you need to build from within that now as helps and becomes massively helpful with your finances.
And another interesting thing that Rabbi mentioned there about givers, he compared that givers with investors. So when I give, I'm giving not expecting anything in return. Okay, I'm giving because I'm just giving because I want to give. If something comes back, that is a bonus for me. If it doesn't, that's still okay. I'm not losing sleep over it. Okay. So once you form a habit of giving, you're likely going to replicate same as an investor. And what do the investors do? If you are the type that you don't give because you don't really give, you've not built up that habit, you will be reluctant to invest because you think you're going to lose money. Okay,
Yes.
you think you're not going to, there's no point. I'd rather put my money in a bank or under my bed. At least I can see it. Yeah.
Mhm.
But once you have that habit of giving, it will be very easy for you to let money go. Okay, so when you invest, and people that have that attitude tends to be, likely to invest more, which is what we talked about, trying to grow our passive income by investment.
Yeah.
So those people, by giving, you actually, Rabbi, argue that we're actually training ourselves to be investors. Because when you put money away, if it comes back or if it gets returns, that's a bonus. If it doesn't, that's you're not going to lose it. Yeah, that's it. You try another one. Okay, as long as you've checked your facts, you've done your assessment,
the research,
and you're happy to do to put in money there. And if it comes back, I mean, if you read about what they call venture capitalists, VC companies, these are companies that invest in startups. Yeah. So a lot of times, maybe the one that will bring back money will be 1 out of 10. Yeah. So they are used to that. And once that one pays, it covers all the losses they would have lost. Okay. So if you're not a giver, if you're not built up the habit of giving, Rabbi is arguing that you're likely not going to be a good investor, because you won't want to be giving out, you will be looking as if you to be coming to you as if you're throwing away money, which but investors are happy to just put money away and have faith that it's going to come back. But if it doesn't, it's still okay. We're not going to lose sleep. So,
those are really valid points, and that argument is very strong actually, because in the investment game, well, you would need to have experienced it to know. It's just one of those things that if you put money, you just take your mind off it and then just keep using it as you're learning. So yes, that's a really good argument. Not that we should waste your money, or sometimes in what you want to do, you have to be strategic as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you must have done your research. Gained all the facts that you need. Very, very important. We're not recommending that you should blindly go and put your money in an investment. No, do your research, weigh the risk. Can I mitigate the risk? If I cannot, if I can, if there are some risk, as a starter, there's no business that is risk-free. Every investment has a potential to fail. Okay, so, but we're not going to, because of that, we're no longer going to invest. We'll still have to invest. Okay, the area that I'm comfortable with, I will still put money in it and invest. So if I'm a giver, I'm used to giving, I'll be a lot more comfortable to put money away as an investment, because I know I've done my research, it looks good, there are still risks, but I'm happy enough to invest. I'll still do that. And that's the kind of habits that you get when you're a good giver. You're a giver, and apart from the friends that you make, the network that you grow, that habit comes in as well.
Wonderful. Honestly, like these are gems for life. Even if you maybe you don't have money and you're like, how does this apply to me? It's your life. If you build from there, it's about your life. It's about what you emanate to. And it's as a result, there are just some things, there are just some habits that result to wealth.
Correct.
And that's why actually, if you read the book at the beginning, there was a conversation about this myth that Jews are so rich that they were born with this genetic gene of making money, or that they are it's like since they were like babies, they were already telling them this is money, this is how to like it was some secrets that they are hoarding the wealth within themselves. But as we're learning, these are things that culturally, the Judaism culture, learning from their Torah, these are habits, traits that passed down from generation.
So
generationally, they've had this information that building your character, building yourself, thinking ahead in this manner will result to prosperity. So yeah, it's amazing stuff, honestly. Make sure you read this book, people. Read the book. The final commandment is, to me, the most powerful because it says, never retire. Today, in church, there was a young lady that was, giving her own take about what about this book really struck her. And she said, oh, the part about never retire. She's young. She's, really, really young. And she's like, this struck out to me. Is she retiring anytime soon? She's young, but, she's going through school and she's about to give up on a project. And she hears, don't retire, never give up. And for her, that was motivation to say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to give up on this project. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue. And so anybody, it doesn't matter your age, don't retire. Don't give up on anything. So this chapter is profound, very powerful. And again, it also speaks to me in a way that even if something doesn't work out, even if maybe this business venture did not work out, don't retire. For me, don't retire. Maybe rebrand, restructure, reshape, revise, come back, something like that. So Mr. Emma, I want to know your thoughts on that particular chapter and how are you applying it in your life?
Right, it's very interesting. It was one of those because before I'm already thinking of, okay, when I retire, I'll do this. I'm going to retire and things like that. So coming to this, for the fact that you're even thinking of retiring, puts a ceiling to what you want to do. It just because once you have that thought that, oh, at 65 I need to retire, so what's the point learning this new skill, or what's the point going back to school? I've seen videos of men that at 70 they graduated or they got a PhD. So if I am thinking of retiring at 65, then what's the point? I'll probably be declining right now because I've done it all. I've gotten all my highest professional recognition. So what's the point? So what Rabbi is saying, we should not even entertain that thought. Okay. And he's not saying that we should keep working and working till we are 100 years old. Okay. What is he saying is that, look, even if we are old and our physical bodies cannot do anything, we need to be able to develop our brain because there are some jobs that physically we cannot do. But as long as we're able, okay, the brain a lot of times can still not just make money, can still be a consultant, can support a charity, can be a leader somewhere, helping people, can support a charity organization. So there are so many values that we can add in a society, okay, in our communities, and back a lot of things we can contribute, even back in Africa that we can support. So rather than sitting back and relax, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't go on holidays as elderly people. We can. So what you say, even if it's 1 day, 2 days a week, we should be able to support something or even make money out of whatever. So that means we should be developing our brains as much as we can. If we need to pick up new skills that will make us consultants at when we leave when you leave an employment or active employment, we should be able to use that knowledge to contribute to the development of a society, to create value, to help charity organizations that needs that experience, that leadership experience, and to just help the society at large. Because when we become idle, somebody was sharing in our parish as well that, look, medically even, if your brain is not ticking, is not active, your likelihood to develop, I'm not sure what I think she mentioned a dementia or something like that.
Dementia,
higher. So we need to if we can't keep our bodies active, of course, if we exercise it when we are young, the likelihood is that your body will be active. But if you're not able to do that, try and develop our brain so that when our physical bodies cannot function, our brains can function. Okay, there was a physicist, a man that was disabled physically, but he could use his brain to do. I think
Steve Hawkins, no?
Yes, Steve Hawkins. Yeah, he could still use his brain, as disabled as his body was, to create things, to make things happen. And so it's important that nobody should retire. For me, it has helped me to, the things I was thinking that, look, there's no point for me doing this training or doing this course. I've made a 360 degree. I'm now doing those things. I'm now developing my brain as much as I can. Anything I can read, I'm, going for it.
Wow. Honestly, I think it's funny, even myself, as I've been growing with God, and I always used to envision doing things past 50. And I don't know, personally. So when I read this, it was like confirmation for me, because I was like, I never really thought I'll retire, because there's for some reason from here, I can see an end game. Like, I can imagine something that I want to do, and everything that I'm doing so far is kind of growing towards that point. And so I see myself 50, 60, I'm still doing it because that is what I love. That is what I feel God has created me on earth to do. So when I read this, I was like, confirmation, retirement. I don't even think it's in the Bible, And even there was a lady that spoke about how you mentioned about if your brain is not active at a certain point. That's, illness, diseases. Someone even say people tend to die even earlier than, they expect, because of activity. They're not busy with their mind, and things like that, as they normally would. And so in some way, she says, if you retire early, you are bringing the end line of your life closer.
Closer, yes. Yeah.
And so the more active and the more value that you give people, you will tend to live longer. And so that your end line of your life tends to move further away. Yeah. The more value you give people, what value, what wisdom. Consultancy is amazing, especially when you build a whole wealth of strength. Going into consultancy, for me, is the smartest move, because you'll be highly sought after, because people want your information, people want to read your research, so that you can advance, perhaps even further than you've ever achieved. You are always building on the shoulder of great people. And so positioning yourself in that place is an amazing place to be. It's like mentorship programs, schemes, building up the next Steve Hawkins, the next industrial giants, banking giant. I don't know. So many things.
That's what it's all about. I mean, it doesn't mean that you'll be laboring yourself, and it's something that you do for you. Yeah, it's something that you do out of, like you said, out of passion. You just want to contribute. You don't need the money necessarily, but you just want to be part of creating value within a society, and that is what that is all about. But if you go retire with all that wealth of experience, knowledge, and you go to your village and just stay, and nobody, it's not even fair to the society, to be honest. It's not even fair to the young people that you would have been mentoring, so it's good that you stay alert once in a while, not something that you'll be doing every minute. Maybe once a month, you get some people together, even if it's a training or teaching them, or even if it's writing everything in a book, put it in a book so people can consult and read. And make yourself available once in a while to discuss it. And that's what it's about.
Wow. Wonderful. Honestly, like we say, get your copy. Grab your copy now. I've started reading this book, slowly but surely, and with my highlights, I'm reading it, so watch out. Maybe I'll be the next.
We'll believe
not like
it.
anybody. I'll be the next rich Oribi.
We claim it. That's what it's about. The affirmation. We need to be affirming this thing that this is what I will be. I mean, one of the things you talked about, I think we didn't mention that on the foretelling the future, is, speaking to the future the way you want it, envisioning what you want in the future. Speaking that, look, this business I'm going into, I'm going to make it. This adventure I'm going into, this study I'm going into, I'm going to get a first class or a distinction. This I'm going into, and it just it makes everything align to that which you have spoken. Very, very good.
Honestly. Guys, we can stay here for another 1 hour, but we won't. Instead, I would love you to again get this book and read it. So, guys, we're coming to the end. What are your thoughts on the book? What have you learned so far from our discussions? Feel free to leave them in the chat. I will be reading them, and I'll come back again. Next week, we're taking a break, but the following week after, we'll be back here again at Sunday Night Live for the next conversation. So, I'm your host, Olivia Edmond Tamnabo, and I am with Mr. Enyoma. He's been my lovely guest. Much appreciate him, and also I appreciate you for your time watching Sunday Night Live this evening. Until next time, see you and have a blessed night.
Bye.